Not all TEMU tools are trash. Some of them are treasures, and I found some hidden gems in here. Let me show you what I found. One of the first things that caught my eye when I was looking to shop on TEMU was this silicone project mat. I have one similar to this from Rockler. It's much thicker. It also has like ridges or grooves in the one from Rockler. I much prefer that one. But if you just need something to lay down to keep the glue off your workbench or anything like that, this should be fine. Also, epoxy doesn't stick to silicone, etc. Also, there were this little set here. You've seen these all over the place, a little silicone brush, silicone pan with a glue spreader. These are hard to mess up. That's kind of why I thought, I'd give them a try. We'll throw a little in this pan. We'll throw a little on the silicone mat. We'll see how it should just peel right off when this stuff is dry. We'll set that to the side. Next with these little paint cones. I've been using these since way back when I first started woodworking. Some of the first little things I bought. So if you put a coat of paint on one side of the project, you flip it over and set it on these. They come in a pack of 10. The reason I bought these was it's very hard to mess these up because it's just plastic. The only way it can be messed up is these are broke. And because of the way they're packaged and things, it's really hard to get broken in transit. So I thought, we'll try them out. I think these are one of those hidden gems from TEMU. If you want to check any of this stuff out, I'll put a link, but the ones that I actually recommend will be on top. This is a good product. I've had one of these for years. This is my old one. This is the one I ordered from TEMU. They're identical. I mean, basically you take any 5-inch sanding disc and it'll stick to it. They're called sanding mice, however you want to say that. These are really handy to have to just use for the hand sanding. I use these all the time and I always have one with some type of pad on it, usually 120. I was doing some epoxy recently. This is an 800 grit. Also, I saw this one. I didn't have one of these. This is for flat sanding. And I recently was doing a cornhole board set. I needed one of these flat sets just so that I could just get that flat surface. And it has a nice grippy pad. This is another hidden gem that I actually think is worth the price on TEMU, even though they're dirt cheap. They're still worth it. Now there is a hidden gem as far as measuring tools go. This is a machinist square, and if you don't know, machinist squares are very accurate, and I use these from TEMU Tools. This is the one from TEMU. I checked it on the one from TEMU Tools. Extremely accurate, like it's dead on. Now, can they keep that up consistently? See, like if you ordered 5 of those, would all 5 of them be perfectly square? I don't know, I ordered one. But if you check it on the woodpecker square, it is also perfectly square, so no issues there. I think that this is probably a pretty decent buy for the price if you just need an accurate square for the shop. This is really handy for making sure your table saw blade is square or your miter saw blade is square or whatever you want to square up. Like, it's just a good little shirt pocket. I did find this on TEMU that I thought was kind of neat. This is a T-bevel gauge. You use this to set your T-bevel. 45, 36, why is there 36? Somebody let me know that. 30 degrees, 22 and a half, 15, and then you got 6 to 1, 7 to 1, 8 to 1 if you're doing dovetails, things like that. Kind of a neat little, handy little jig if you're into those things. Honestly though, I think I would go with the saw set on something like that, especially for woodworking. You're gonna be able to use this to set those angles anywhere along that 90 degree or 180 degrees in either direction. For a double miter or single miter, this is a handy little tool to have. It's aluminum, laser etched, well made. I think I would go with that before something like this. One handy little tool that I did find on there was this. This is ruler limit set. Basically, it's a ruler stop similar to the ones I showed not too long ago, but this slides up and down a ruler, inches on one side, millimeters on the other, so it depends on just wherever you're at, you can use it, and you can set this. I like that this has this 90-degree stop, so you could literally use this as, say, a hook ruler, similar to a hook ruler, or you can use it to hit the edge of the board, anything like that. So you can literally use this as a shoulder square if you just want to transfer lines. I don't know, I just thought this was kind of handy. I liked kind of how it passed through the rule. How it holds up, I guess it remains to be seen, but brass knobs, all aluminum, kind of neat, I liked it. Speaking of setting up, you've saw these on the channel before if you watched any time at all. These are setup gauges. I use these to set up table saws, the blades, the fence distance. I've used them on the router table to set up router bit heights or the fixed base router. These are extremely handy to have and one of my most used setup tools. I got the Craig version, so it comes with the same amount. Now the Craigs are quite a bit thicker in construction, but if these are accurate, which that's an 1/8 inch, measures an 1/8, try the 1/2. Yeah. And notice it all of these look to be very, very similar to the Craig, other than the thickness. The pattern's the same. They are near identical. If you were in the market for some of these, you want to save a lot of money on a good set of setup gauges, this is the way to go. This is one of those hidden gems, I think, that other than the case is a little different, and these are better constructed, thicker. I mean, that's thick. I mean, who's going to bend that? You would literally have to run over it or something to get it to bend. But 1/8 through the half, that's a good little deal. Radius guides, if you've not seen those used, I've used them on the channel before, where I use them to create a radius on the end of a board. And the way they work is they just hook onto the end of a board, and then you hold them in place while you use a pattern bit on your router to hit that curve. This one is anodized aluminum, but this one has a neat little thing. This is one of those hidden gems too. This you just swap out, take this bolt off or screw off, then you could take this out, flip it around to get whatever radius you want, and you can swap it out for these chamfer radiuses, which is super handy. I like that about this set. It feels well made. These are brass knobs to help lock it in place whenever you put it on the board. This is a well-made little product for the price you're paying. Super cheap and super handy. Next up, feeler gauges. Say you're trying to dial in your fence on your crosscut sled. I've done that before. I use feeler gauges to basically set that distance and then move it to that distance when you figure out how much out your thing is when you do like the 5-cut method. Or sometimes you want to check the flatness of a tabletop and you can use the feeler gauges to push under the straight edge, figure out where it's low, how much it's low. Use these all the time. These are handy to have and they're not bad for the price. Next up, I wanted some magnets because I use magnets all the time in the shop for all kinds of stuff. And these were pretty neat because they had basically a countersunk hole for a screw to set in, and they're really strong little magnets, and thought I could use those, so I grabbed those. Next up, dominoes. If you don't know, dominoes are expensive. If you have a festival domino, the domino themselves cost a lot just because they can, right? I bought this pack here of dominoes to kind of compare them to ones I had. They are different, but I don't think it's gonna matter too much. Both made out of similar wood. This is like 1 millimeter longer, the fake one is about 1 millimeter longer. If you look at the end, the way the domino is shaped, it basically comes out and kind of squishes to a point on each side, where the regular, this fake one just kind of rounds over. If you're not looking for a super tight fit, I don't think that's gonna matter. On the tighter fits, it might, but they look very similar. They both have glue grooves. It's made out of the same stuff. Both smell the same. It's all good. Next up, I bought a pry bar. Why do you need a pry bar? Well, a lot of times on the CNC, when I double stick tape something down, it gets stuck. And I've been using like the Allen wrench to pop it loose. This, I'll be able to get that under there, pop that up. And besides, we use pry bars all the time in the shop. You lift something up a little bit, pry something loose. This is just a cheap pry bar. Made out of steel, probably be all right. All right, I thought this was a good idea. If you have a laser, right, and you're making products, this I found on TEMU. It's just a little wood tray. It has like a bowl bit, looks like it was used in here. It's really nice. You don't have to sand it. This is finished, it's ready to go. You can set this in your laser and engrave something in the bottom, a logo, a name, a saying, or something like that. You know, something that sells. Inspirational quotes, whatever if you want to put that on there and put, you know, dream big, you know, chase your dreams, something like that inside this thing. This would be a cool little thing to buy because you don't have to mill these. You can buy these super cheap from TEMU. You can put these on your laser, engrave them, and then offer them for sale for a marked up price. You know, whatever percentage markup you want to put on there, and that would be cool. And I also found this little baby hippo. Look at him, he's so cute. My wife loves the song of Baby Hippopotamus for Christmas, and so I thought of her when I bought it, and I bought this for her. So she's getting that next. But it's wood. A little cool little thing for a kid. Just be careful, it's small. They could choke on those. But I think this would be a good selling idea. All right, so I found some AAA batteries and put in this little digital meter, and it's okay. I mean, if you just want a quick and dirty digital angle, you can use these to get that. The only problem with these is if they're not straight up and down and you tilt them a little bit, then it's gonna throw your measurement off. I actually recommend the Wixie brand if you want one of these. They're a little bit more expensive, not a lot, but they will work better, or just use the trusty square if you're going 45 or 90. But for those in-between measurements, this will get you really close. I like these, and I like the contrasting color on this, so I'm gonna put this in the okay bucket. Not amazing, not terrible, but decent for the price. Again, there are better versions out there, but if you want to try one of these for cheap, this might be an option. And it does have magnets in the bottom, so you can stick that to the blade so you don't have to hold it while you try to adjust the blade. Most of these have those, but just so you know. I wanted to see if the T-Track was any good from TEMU, and I bought this and it came in a weird looking package. It was just a long, wrapped up in plastic. Just really surprised it didn't come damaged. I just bought a short piece just to see if it was decent enough quality. It's T-Track. It looks like T-Track, smells like T-Track, it acts like T-Track. The tools ride in it like T-Track. It works fine. You just gotta take a chance on is it gonna get bent in transit or not. But for the price, it's cheap. A couple little organizers I found with these little wrench holders. And I love having these because I use these in my drawer here. These are handy to have because you can just grab them and take them to whatever you're working on. So if you need to work on something in the backyard or the lawnmower or whatever in the shed, you can take these out there and not have to walk back and forth, right? It's kind of the idea. And it keeps them nice and organized. These are very similar. This is more of a silicone plastic, kind of a bendy plastic. I like this one, but this works all right too. Everything sets in there real nice and keeps all your wrenches organized. You can screw these to the wall, or they have a magnet, which is kind of neat. Check this out. Now, whether that'll hold full set of wrenches, probably not, but it's nice to know that there's a magnet on the back. And then this one, it was cheaper. It's plastic. I actually wouldn't recommend this one. It'll hold them. It's fine. These are better. This is best. Only a couple more things, but there's a hidden gem here, and we got to see if that glue stuck to that silicone mat. I bought this stop block for T-Track. I thought I'd try it on my miter sled and see if it was any decent quality. I like the fact that it folds down. It also steps out and over so that if you had a sacrificial fence or something like that, you could use it. It works okay. It's all right. It's not that bad. You can buy them on Amazon too, about the same price. Notebooks. I bought some cheap notebooks from TEMU because they were cheap. You've heard of dot journaling? Maybe you probably hadn't. I've got a daughter, that's how I know. She dot journals. So anyway, this thing I like that the fact that you can use the dots as basically a reference. So if you want to draw something kind of to scale, especially if you're designing like a table or a workbench or whatever you're building, kind of get you a sketch and you can draw the measurements on there, and those dots kind of keep you honest. They let you know that you're the same hangover on each side. So you can just use the dot as a reference. Now you could do it like a 1-inch reference, or you could just sketch things out. It just keeps everything in line. You also write your notes. I write down a bunch of measurements and things when I'm working on projects. It's just handy to have notebooks in the shop. It's almost handy as a shirt pocket. Woo. All right, so the glue is not been fully set, but I can tell that it's gonna pop right off that silicone mat. It's just a little tacky still, but as far as not dry all the way, but it's gonna come right up, not a problem at all. In the brush, this is very similar to any other silicone brush. It's gonna be fine. Inside this little container, the glue's popping right off. Yeah, these work fine. Unlike these hidden gems, there are some treasures that you want to avoid from TEMU because they're a trash, not treasure. Click that box right there to learn about those tools. Click in the box to get to the big old virtual fist bump. Thank you for watching.